Wonderful. So thank you everybody for joining us this evening, this afternoon, depending on where in the country you're located. Really big thank you to Emily and Dr. Eden Sarid from the University of Essex, who will be taking us through this presentation today. I know it's a little bit late in the UK, so thank you so much for giving up your time to talk to our students. This is a great opportunity to ask any questions that you may have about the University of Essex. So as we're going through the presentation, do feel free to pop in any questions that you have into the question box. I think I can see that some people have already utilised that. So if you do have any questions, pop them in there, and at the end we'll be taking you through a Q&A session. So I'll be asking the questions that you asked to Emily and Dr. Eden, and then we'll be tackling those at the end. So just as a little intro to Study in UK, we do provide free application support and advice to students who are applying, and we help with a range of subjects, but tend to find that law is one of the ones that students frequently ask about. So we do specialise in law school applications and are an official partner of the University of Essex. And what that means is that we act as in-country representatives who work really closely with the university and are able to host webinars like the one that you're attending this evening in order to provide you with more information about the programs that they offer. But it also means that Essex keeps us abreast of any developments that they have in terms of their course offerings and scholarships and any other updates that are pertinent to students. So we do have thousands of students who go to the UK each year, and we have a really high success rate over at Study in UK, just because we make university recommendations based on your grades and your preferences, making sure that we're finding the right university for you. So without any further ado, I'll do Emily and Dr. Eden, who will take us through the presentation. So Emily, I will make you the presenter. As I said, feel free to pop in any questions and we will tackle those in a Q&A session at the end.
Fab, thank you. Let me just change that. Okay, can you see everything okay?
Wonderful.
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Fab. Always get worried that I'm going to start talking or showing something and you can't see it. Cool. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for your time, as Nnenna said. So we're just going to chat about law at the University of Essex. We're going to start mostly with all about our different law degrees, what we offer, what it's like to study at Essex, and then I'll tell you a bit more about the university itself. Just by way of introduction, I'm Emily Robinson. I'm an international officer. Actually used to work at SI-UK, so I can vouch they're great guys there. And I predominantly look after students from North America, but particularly Canada. So if you have any questions after the presentation, my email will be there for you to contact me. And then I'll just pass over to Eden, who I've been joined by, and let you introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Eden Sarid. I'm an assistant professor of law at the University of Essex. I teach intellectual property, which is something super interesting about technology, innovation, creativity, the things that we do in the world. I also happened to move here from Toronto, and I am in charge of all the Canadian students at the University of Essex Law School.
Great. There we go, it works. So just as a session overview, as I mentioned, we'll talk about why study law in the UK, the types of degrees available, and we'll talk obviously about law at Essex, and in particular a bit of a spotlight on our great senior status programme. We'll then sort of cover a bit about qualifying in Canada and in the UK, and then draw back over to costs and funding, the nitty-gritty bits, and then I'll talk a bit more about the University of Essex. If I keep looking away, it's because the button's on the other side of the screen, so I want to make sure I get the right one. So why the UK? Well, we're home to 55 million people and over 90,000 Canadian-born UK residents. So if you do choose to come to the UK, not only will you be immersed in a great international culture at universities, but you may meet also fellow Canadians. We are home to Shakespeare, so if you love a bit of history and culture and reading, we are, the home to Shakespeare, Oxbridge, in terms of Oxford and Cambridge. Stonehenge, which is on the bottom right, which I will admit I did drive past once and say, what are the big rocks? So maybe I shouldn't out myself much, but lots of history in the UK. Of course, James Bond, Daniel Craig, great hero, and also the Beatles. So in the UK, you've got lots of rich history, culture, and lots of things going on. We also have over 100 universities in the UK, so whatever you're looking for, whatever you want out of your education, degree level, postgraduate level, sorry, undergraduate or postgraduate level, there's lots of universities in the UK to suit your needs. University level teaching started in the 12th century, so it is one of the oldest education systems in the world. So again, rich culture, history, really one of the best places to go and study. And in the UK, we actually are home to the #1 international student city. So again, if you're looking for that great international lifestyle and study experience, the UK is the place to be. In particular, I might say the University of Essex, just to make sure you know that. Our degrees are internationally recognised as well and respected. So wherever you go, obviously, a lot of you may want to study in the UK and then return back to Canada, which we'll talk about. And the degrees are globally recognised and as respected, as I say. So wherever you want to go in the world post-studies, you will be able to continue with a career. And also, you can study what you love from day one. So again, one of the highlights of studying law in the UK is obviously you can finish your high school education, get your Canadian high school diploma, and come to law school in the UK, and within 3 years, you've kind of completed the law school in that sense. You don't have to worry about getting an undergraduate first. So yeah, really great opportunity for you and your education. I will now go on to the next slide, and I'll pass over to Eden and let him tell you all about our great law school.
So from talking about the UK in general, let's talk a little bit about law degrees in the UK. What does it mean to be a lawyer, to be qualified in the UK, doing your LLB? This is what we call the equivalent maybe of a JD here, which is just the basic law degree. A law degree from the UK is well respected internationally and recognized. You know, the credentials that we have here are recognized internationally. So of course, if you're from North America generally and Canada in particular, this could take you a long way. The Canadian legal system, as many of you might know from high school already, is descended from the British common law system when Canada once upon a time was a dominion. So basically, the law in the UK applied to other dominions, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and other areas in the world. And now we have a shared legal heritage, which means a lot of the doctrines, a lot of what we talk and teach at Essex Law School and any British law school will, at least in principle, apply in Canada. Of course, ever since Canada has ceased to be a dominion, it has developed its own laws, it has its own Supreme Court, its own judicial system, but many of the things are still shared. So it's relative to other places, it's easier to move from one jurisdiction, one country to another with your degree in the UK. And we also have a shared core curriculum, a shared core set of subjects that we study. For example, tort, which is personal damages if someone breaks your hand, or car accident. Property, so what we own, the houses we live in, the machines that we own, our phones, everything that we hold on to, the things that we have. Contracts, when you buy a cup of coffee, you enter into a contract with someone, or when you buy a phone, you enter into a contract with your provider. We talk about these things, of course, criminal law, the things that are allowed or not allowed. Equity and trusts, which if you ever heard the word trust fund, it all comes to these kind of areas of law that we teach. These are areas that are taught both in Canadian law schools and in British law schools, and particularly, of course, at Essex. So these are the kind of the core modules that we teach. These are the basics that every lawyer has to study. You need to understand what torts are, what property is, what contracts, and how they change our worlds, change our lives, how they help us interact with other people. But also you could elect other courses, other modules, whatever you are passionate about. If you're passionate about human rights, if you're passionate about patents or copyrights, if you're passionate about innovation law or law and technology, if you're passionate about family law, we teach a lot of elective, a huge range of elective modules that you can elect to study and follow your passion in law. Emily, thanks. So this is kind of the general law degrees. Why law in the UK? So unlike other jurisdictions, in most cases, we don't have any additional entrance examinations. You're evaluated on the strength of your application, not one examination. You don't need to take the LSATs. You just have your high school diploma. You write an application, you make a personal statement, and that's how we evaluate you. We don't just look at one exam to determine whether you can or cannot apply. You can earn your law degree in 3 years, and then another year add and then have an LLM, which is the Master's of Law. So it means 4 years straight out of high school, you might already have a master's degree. That gives you an advantage, and of course places you in a certain advantage when it comes to finding a job, your job market, and other prospects in life. If you already have a bachelor's degree, I know some of the people today with us already have a bachelor's degree in whatever topic or subjects they have. We actually have a particular program that you can earn your law degree in 2 years. We call it senior status at the University of Essex. So I've had students who already had degrees from other universities in Canada, from coast to coast. They came, and 2 years later, they already had their LLB. Again, it was already mentioned by Emily, but I'll reemphasize that our degrees are internationally recognized. That doesn't mean that with an LLB from the university, you can become a lawyer in Canada. You still need to take certain exams. We can talk about that. But it does mean that when you have a law degree from a British university, and particularly Essex, it is internationally recognized. You don't need to go through some kind of process to make your degree recognized by whoever it might be. We, not just at Essex, but generally in the UK, we have an old and really good established law education center. And in particularly at the university, one of the biggest schools, and we are famous for at Essex, is our law school, which is a fantastic law school to study in and work in. Emily, thanks. So we have a huge selection of courses that you can take, just the regular LLB law. Then we have the LLB law, which is senior status, which I mentioned earlier. If you have a degree from elsewhere, it's in 2 years you can get your LLB. Then you can have an LLB with a particular focus on human rights, a focus on finance, and with human rights. Then LLB with finance, LLB with politics, with business, with philosophy, with criminology, and with French law, which also allows you to get a license in France, the matrice exams it's called. So when you consider which course you want to take, there are a lot of different options. You could always discuss this with Emily or with me or with, of course, anyone else at the university. We're very happy to discuss this. A lot of our students tend to do these degrees, which are not just law, but law and something, especially if you want to open your horizons and keep your options open when it comes to what you want to do next after university. We also have a huge selection of postgraduate courses. So the LLM that I mentioned earlier, the master's degree, allows you, after you complete your LLB, take another year of study, and then also get a master's degree. And we have what we call specialisms, or we call them concentrations, where you can pick a particular topic. So imagine you did law school, and you went to law school for 2 or 3 years, depends on which program you go to. And you find that you're very passionate about, say, example, international law or maritime law or human rights law. So you can take a master's degree at Essex for 1 year and concentrate most or all of your courses or your modules on the things that you're really passionate about and interested in. So just take a quick look at your screen. You know, we have international law, maritime law, corporate responsibility, international trade law, international humanitarian law, human rights law, human rights law and economic relations, human rights and cultural diversity. We are very strong in human rights, so you see we have a huge selection of human rights law, international trade and maritime law, and an LLM in economic, social, and cultural rights. I will also tell you that in the works, we also have an LLM in law and technology. We're always growing, always looking for new areas to provide our students with more courses, more experiences, more knowledge, and more hands-on education. A little bit about Essex as a law school. Before I start reading off the slides and talk to you about all these, you know, how good we are and how highly ranked we are, I know our competitors probably say that too. I'll tell you my own personal perspective as someone who has been at Essex for quite some time. It really is a great place because it allows you to be close to London, which is a fantastic city, but it is also a little bit off the grid in that regard, which you're not in the city. You get to enjoy it, but you also get to live in Colchester, which is a really, really nice town. And it's one of these universities where it's just really fun to be. You see people are happy, you see people enjoy themselves, and you see that your lecturers, your professors care about you. And I think that's something that sets us apart from a lot of other places. Because when you want to take your education, there's a lot of things that you need to think about. You need to think about rankings and about the brand that you're buying, particularly later when you want to do when you enter the job market. But you also need to think about the experience, what you're going to do with your life in the next couple of years, and where you want to do it. So I can tell you from my personal experience, Essex is a really, really nice place to be. Also, the campus is gorgeous. It's really nice, lakes and ducks, and kind of makes you, when you walk there during the fall and you see all the fall leaves, it kind of reminds you of Canada around, Thanksgiving, where, you just enjoy this beauty of the fall. Anyway, we are ranked 47th in law, according to the Times Higher Education, worldwide. So we are a very strong law school ranking, 9th in England. And what sets us apart is that we teach what we call the law that matters. Because we're a younger university, we weren't established in the 12th century. We allowed ourselves to be a little more daring, a little bit more experimental, a little less traditional than these kind of, law schools who are very, very conservative in their thinking. And I think that allows us to be creative in the way we think and creative in the way we teach, which really does set us apart, which really does give us this kind of edge that other places may not have. We have a huge, very, very strong human rights community, vibrant, diverse. We have a human rights center, which does amazing things. Some of our professors are rapporteurs for the UN. Others appear in Geneva all the time, engage with the international courts of human rights, the European Court of Human Rights and international courts of justice. So really kind of like not just law on paper, but really, real life experience that we bring into what we teach and what we do. Of course, we're accredited by the Bar Standards and Board Solicitors of Regulation here in the UK, and we are home to the largest double degree program in the UK, with students qualifying to practice both in France, England, and Wales. So I'm gonna very quickly touch on what I mentioned earlier, the Senior Status LLB. So this is a 2-year qualifying law degree. It's designed for those who already have an existing degree from any discipline and provide a comprehensive training in law over a concentrated 2-year period. So I had students who did maths at the University of Alberta, and I had students who came from Brunswick who did humanities. It doesn't matter, as long as you have a degree in any area at all, you can come and do your law degree within 2 years as part of the Senior Status LLB. Again, it's very similar to the modules, the courses that I mentioned earlier. You'll cover things like property law, land law, equity and trust, law of the European Union, contracts and tort, criminal and public law. Again, kind of giving you a good grasp, a good understanding of what law is in general. And in the second year, you can also choose one optional module, which you're kind of passionate about. One very important thing that, again, kind of sets us apart is our law clinic. So our law clinic gives you hands-on real lawyering skills. I actually ran one of our law clinics, the Innovation Law Clinic, as part of the Essex Law Clinic. We also have a human rights clinic. We have helping customers, a clinic that helps customers. We have social justice clinic. We have a project against the death penalty. So really interesting things. You get to work with real life clients. You get to work with people who are practicing law. So it gives you kind of, again, not just a cutting edge and something that sets you apart in terms of your practical knowledge, but also real hands-on experience, which could be super interesting. I can very quickly share one of the very interesting projects that I had with my students this year. In the Innovation Law Clinic, they made a video about the importance of women and girls engaging in innovation and creativity. We sent it to a competition in the World Intellectual Property Organization. It was a fantastic experience for all of us. So we really got to experience this part, as well as working with clients who have set up a few startups, giving them legal advice as to what they should care about when they start a new business. So our law clinic, again, very wide ranging and really gives you hands-on experience. And I think now I'll pass it on to Emily, who will give you all the details about how to qualify to practice in Canada and a few other important bits.
Cool, thanks Eden. So qualifying to practice in Canada, obviously if you're looking to study your law degree in the UK and you want to bring that back to Canada, I can imagine you may have some concerns how it works. But in the UK, the LLB is a very common route for Canadian students looking to qualify. This is because, as I mentioned, the 3-year LLB, you can go straight out of high school. So it's kind of going you straight into law school from the start. It's a 3-year degree. Or if you've already completed a bachelor's route, then obviously we have our undergraduate senior status program, which is 2 years. So the beauty of both of those is it's a common route, it's straightforward, it's quicker as well and more affordable. So the main thing you need to think about is once you've completed your studies, if you want to return to Canada to practice, is looking into the NCAs, which is the National Committee on Accreditation. This is consisted of about 5 exams, I believe, and you basically can self-study for these exams. You can start, do jump in even if I'm saying anything incorrect, but you can start studying for these yourself towards the end of your degree in the UK, and then you basically apply to start taking the exams when you return back to Canada. It's, as I say, self-studies, it is quite a straightforward route. It can take a year, maybe 2 years, depending on how long you take to study. There are options back in Canada if you want to go to another institution who will help you with the NCAs in terms of studying. That is an option. But it's basically complete your studies in the UK, NCA exams, articling and bar. I will say that's the general gist of it. Eden, I don't know if you have anything else you really want to add in there that I've maybe missed. I've kind of tried to make it more of a summarized route, I guess.
No, I mean, you absolutely covered everything. Again, this is something that you would want to look at if you are intending on pursuing a law career in Canada. I would mention that many of our graduates don't necessarily want to become lawyers. They just want legal education, and then they, turn to civil service, finance, many other sectors as well. And they just use their law degree as something that helps them in their career. But of course, if you want to become a lawyer, this is the route.
And if you do have questions about this, or you're unsure, as I say, you can contact myself, and I'm happy to help you sort of figure that out, or the SI-UK team. Again, they also are very well versed in that. So I will now jump into a bit more sort of Essex related things to do with our core programme. So cost and funding. So obviously, you want to study law, you want to come to the UK, you want to come to Essex, but obviously one of the big things is cost and funding. So at the moment for our 2023 intake, undergraduate fees are around £19,530 per year, which I put as an estimated 28,000 Canadian dollars per year of study. So that will be any LLBs, including our senior status, and then for any postgraduate studies such as our LLMs, it's around £20,700, again around the 30,000 Canadian dollar mark. They are sort of roundabout guesstimates, so if I'm slightly incorrect there, just wanted to give you a basic idea of what our fees are like. If you're looking at studying potentially in Canada as well, you may be looking at both options. Canadian law schools can be ranging around $7,000 to $34,000 per year. So, pretty pricey. Obviously, it's a big application to go into getting into law school as well. So really, the UK actually becomes not only a quicker route, but comparable in terms of cost as well. We do appreciate, obviously, there's the moving costs, those kind of things involved. But in terms of adding in accommodation and things to the cost of it, it's still pretty much more affordable. We also have scholarships on offer. At the moment, we have our Vice Chancellor's Global Talent Scholarship, which is open to students from Canada, which offers 50% off tuition fees. This is a scholarship that you apply for. So some of them are automatic, some you apply for, and it's merit based. So once you've made an application to the course, you're able to fill in the application form and then send that off, and then all the applications will be assessed. Then we also have our Academic Excellence Senior Status Law Scholarship, bit of a mouthful. This one is automatic, so once you've made your application, should you meet the entry criteria, it will be awarded to you automatically. So you don't have to worry about adding in any more applications for that. They are our current two scholarships that are sort of most based around law at Essex and for Canadian students, but we do have many more on our website under scholarships, and you can filter. So it's a really great system to find out if there are any more that are more applicable. We also are a recognised institution in terms of funding, so whether you're looking at provincial or territorial financial aid. So we do accept things such as OSAP, Alberta Student Aid and Student Aid BC. If you are looking at other options, you can always get in touch with us and ask if we can accept them. And we have a loans queries team that I tend to go to. If I don't know the answer, I ask them and they're able to advise. And we're often chatting to other governing bodies, those other teams that we can see if we can maybe look into accepting more options. And then we have just included visa requirements. Obviously, that's something else to think about as part of costs and funding and sort of moving to the UK. But you would have to show evidence of £1,015 per month for living costs, basically just to show, VFS that you have the money to be able to move to the UK. But again, as I've mentioned, SI-UK will know more about this and can advise. And I say that because I did used to know it in more detail, but I'll leave that to them to advise you further if you have those questions. And then also entry requirements. So undergraduate LLBs at the moment, we ask for around 75% in a Canadian secondary school certificate. So that's sort of the OSSD, for example. If you happen to be doing A-levels in Canada, I don't know if there are many schools that will offer A-levels, but if you are, it's a BBB or IB International Baccalaureate at 30. Our senior status LLB is obviously still undergraduate, but you have the entry is with a bachelor's degree. So that's a 2.9 GPA out of 4. And then for our postgraduate LLMs, we ask for a minimum B average, which is about 2.7 out of 4 GPA. That's our sort of standard entry requirements. Alongside that, if you're obviously applying for undergraduates, you have a personal statement, sorry, absolutely blanked, and for masters you'll also have a more direct entry application as well. But that kind of just gives you the general entry requirements that we ask for here at Essex. Again, all noted on our website as well, but if you have any questions, again, I'll put my contact details at the end. So just to give you more of an idea about Essex and who we are as a university, what we're about, where we're based. This is a lovely picture of our campus. As Eden said, in the autumn, in the fall, it's a lovely place to be. You've got the lovely grass, green campus. This is taken from our Ivor Crew building, so you can see, I think it's square 5 in the image. Our library's there. But we've got a really lovely campus, accommodation in the background. Lots of students will be doing sort of 5K running routes, which is really lovely to see. But if you're not into running, a nice stroll around the lake is also welcomed. So that's just a bit about our main campus in Colchester.
Just jump in quickly. You can also see the law school there in the slide, right? That big building there next to the orange looking building. That's our law school.
There we go. I should have pointed that one out. I'm glad you showed me. Yeah, so who we are and what we're about in terms of Essex. So we have 3 main campuses. We've been obviously talking here about law, which is based at our Colchester campus. It's our sort of biggest campus that we offer. And we also have Southend, which is right by the coast. And then we have Lawton, which houses our East 15 acting school. We're also in easy reach of London. Again, as Eden mentioned, we are about 50 minutes from Colchester into Liverpool Street Station in London, so that great access into the city for just visiting the city, but also networking events, anything going on that you want to get joined in, sort of future career-wise thoughts, or just getting involved in any events that are going on. London is super accessible. We also have 6 major airports within 2 hours away, which is absolutely perfect if you want to go and have that European Easter break. Go and visit all the other countries surrounding us. But also, if you want to go home for Christmas, Gatwick isn't too far away. It is easy to get to. So it's a really great place to be. Not only have you got London there, but as I say, wonderful campuses on offer. We have over 15,000 students on Essex programmes across our campuses. So we're not a huge university, but have a great student body. We are 40% international as well, so we're meeting students from all over the world. Campus is always bustling with lots of people busy doing food markets, lots of societies, people heading to classes, all sorts going on. So it's a really lovely place to be. I see I've noted 3 campuses twice there, so just to make sure you remember there are 3. As I mentioned, yep, easy access to London, and we have 3 main faculties with 21 academic departments. So as I mentioned, big university, lots going on, but not too big that it's really daunting. So who we are is that we are home to the ambitious, bold students who want to make a difference and challenge convention. So that really sort of describes our law degree as well. We're freer, we're daring. We want students to come to us who have that fierce sort of energy inside them, who want to make a change. You want to be active, you want to take part, you want to join society, have those great discussions in your classroom. 17,000 students actually is all our campuses surrounding. So as I mentioned, the 15,000 is more Colchester, 17,000 is all 3 together, from over 140 countries. So as I said, we are 40% international. So you do have the whole world in one place. That means we've got lots of societies for different countries. You've got students celebrating all different holiday celebrations, but we're just a really great place to meet people from all over the world. And another side to that is thinking about, it can be daunting moving to another country, but again, you're one of many. You're not going to feel alone. You'll meet lots of people in the same situation. We have lots of flexible courses for students to get involved in outside the classroom. So as I mentioned, we've got languages for all, which means you can learn another language while studying at Essex. But as I mentioned, we've got lots of entrepreneurship, employability, lots of different things you can get involved in while studying your degree. And we're friendly and vibrant. I'm sure myself and Essex and myself and Eden have sort of promoted that a lot, but we are a super friendly campus, and it's just a great place to be. That top picture really just shows off how busy we are, and there's always things going on and things to get involved in. In terms of rankings, I know that it can be quite important to people in rankings. Sometimes they are important. I think you've got to think about what's important to you. There may be some universities out there that are, amazing top Russell Group universities, but for your course, they don't rank highly. So that is something to think about, what really is important to you. But we are world leading in social sciences. So we are top 10 in the Times Higher Education 2003, which is great. As we've mentioned before, we are 9th in the UK for law and 47th in the world. So that is something we love to shout about and we're really, really proud of. And just shows off how great our law department is. We are top 25 in the UK for research quality. So something we're really proud of is a lot of our academics are in the field working, researching and always enhancing their teaching and bringing those new ideas into the classroom to just constantly elevate what you're learning and elevating your skills ready for the future as well. And again, we also are top 25 for international outlook. So again, lots of internationalization going on in the university, lots of things to get involved with people, as I say, from all over the world. And 5 of our subjects are in the UK top 10 for research power. And 91% of our graduates are in highly skilled employment. So another thing we do want to touch on is that employability is really important to us, and we make sure it's a core factor in your degrees as well. So when you finish your studies, you're prepared for the working world. If you want to go back to Canada and work as a lawyer, you know, you're going to learn those skills as you're learning the degree as well. So as I mentioned, global community, we are the world in one place. Kind of mentioned a few things for students from over 140 countries. 40% of us are international, so you can study, live and work with people from all over the world. A beauty of this is, you know, you can work part-time on your student visa, so you can earn money, meet other people from different courses that you maybe wouldn't have met if you just sort of stayed stuck in one road, or, you know, stayed in Canada. You will meet people worldwide. It's friends all over the world. It's free accommodation all over the world. So, you know, there's extras that you maybe don't think about. The cultural activities and societies on campus are really something to note, something to get involved in, because it teaches you skills for life, but friends for life as well. And another thing I wanted to note at the bottom is that we do have obviously accommodation on campus. You could see it in that first image. I usually have a big slide about this, but I thought I would just keep it more brief for now, and if you want to know more you can ask. But we do have guaranteed accommodation for all years of your study as an international student. So whether you're doing an LLM or doing the 2-year senior status or 3-year LLB, as an international student, it is guaranteed for you, and we have lots of different options to suit your finances, to suit your preferences, and so yeah, it's really great accommodation, ensuite, shared facilities, whichever you prefer. There's options for everybody. But as I say, if you'd like to know more, we've got a website, or again, you can ask me. And then just a little bit more here. Is it going to work? Students' Union. That's one other thing I wanted to talk about. So the Students' Union is owned and loved by the students on campus. It's housed right in the centre of our campus, and basically they host social events such as Welcome Week and the Christmas Market, Holy Festival. They cover lots of different cultures, celebrations, lots of different things. They will always have the, events going on. Students are automatically members as you join. So basically when you get to university, you get a Students' Union card as well. So you're automatically a member. The beauty of this is on Welcome Week, we host something called like a Freshers' Fair. And this is where all the societies in the union will have a table, have a stand, and you can see all the different sports teams got available, different societies for different things that you're interested in, whether that's baking, we might have a baking society, or chess, or anything from then sports clubs. We've got football, rugby, volleyball, basketball. They're really popular, and in fact we're doing very, very well in the league tables against other universities in those sports. But you can basically join any of those societies. We do have a Canadian Law Society that we're getting sort of set up and ready to get going soon, so hopefully in the next year or so that will be up and running. But if you join Essex, then you obviously can be a part of that and get that going. The beauty of it is as well, if you don't have a society, that you can't find one that you're interested in, so you can't find one that you want to join, you can set one up. So, you know, if you're really interested in something in particular and it's not already existing, you gather some friends together, and then you can make that happen. And as I mentioned, you can work on the visa, so there are part-time jobs. Okay, that's good to know. I hope everyone can hear anyway.
Yeah, I think everything's okay. I'm not sure why that just started up. Okay,
I'm wrapping up, so if there's an issue, then hopefully we'll get it all in before it maybe combusts. There are part-time jobs available on campus as well, whether you want to work in hospitality or within the departments as well. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. And then finally, last slide, so you'll stop hearing my rambling soon. Student support is really big at Essex. We are a big welcoming university. We want to make sure everybody, no matter where you're from, whatever your background, you have a great, fantastic and supported time at the university. We have access for all. So if you're struggling with anything at all, we make sure that you can get everywhere you need to be. We have a health centre on campus. So as part of your visa, there is an NHS surcharge. Basically means you have access to our National Health Service, and so our health centre on campus is accessible for all students. We also ensure that we have mental and emotional health support for students at all times. So if you're struggling with anything, obviously, again, being an international student, being far away from home, these things can crop up, and that's absolutely okay. And we have a team on there for support to make sure that you get what you need from us. Safety and security, really big, obviously, on campus. That's another thing to sort of talk to your parents about. I know it might be a worry for them, but we have 24/7 security. We also have something called Nightline, which Essex set up, and it basically means at any hours of the day or night there is a team available to sort of help you out with whatever you need, especially, you know, if you're maybe going out with friends and you need someone, or you need to call someone, you can't get hold of them, the Nightline are there to help you. Academic support, again, we all students will have a personal advisor, and they're there to help you throughout your studies. That is, we have those especially in law, and a mentor to make sure you're supported throughout, and they're the person to go to academically. Great student service hub, and then also access online and remote as well. So if you can't get into class one day, you know, there is that access and support online. So that kind of rounds us all up in terms of Essex. That is the end in terms of the presentation. I've put my email there as well if you want to take note or take a picture, and also our Essex website is there. But yeah, I don't know where to hand it over to Nnenna. If there's any questions that have cropped up or anything that you'd like us to go over again, do let us know.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much to both of you for joining us. I can't see too many questions in at the moment. I believe someone said that they weren't able to kind of hear the speaker at one point. I'm not sure what went on there, but someone said that they're able to hear it now. So I'm not sure if we did have some technical difficulties at any point, but we do have still quite a few attendees with us. So just wanted to ask anyone who perhaps has questions, did you pose those to the university now? It's really great that we have Essex with us, just because obviously it's difficult for people to actually get over to the UK and meet all of the universities that they potentially want to speak to. So it's a great opportunity to have you with us. I just was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about your optional modules. So I know that Dr. Eden mentioned that he is in the IP side of things, which is very interesting. Having a little background myself, it's nice to hear about that. But that tends to be the thing that will be the deciding factor for students. Obviously, the nature of the program is such that the qualifying law modules mean that wherever you go, you're going to be doing criminal, you're going to be doing contract, that kind of thing. So if you could just perhaps tell us a little bit more about those optional modules that make Essex stand out.
Absolutely, thanks. That's actually a great question, because like I mentioned earlier, I think a lot of us, you know, as Nnenna was just saying, you know, every university will have you covering the basics, criminal law, public law, these types of things. You'll study no matter where you go. One of the things that I would consider if I were looking for a university right now is, where can I pursue other, you know, topics that I can study? Which university offers me many different, you know, areas of law that I could choose to focus on? Because you can't study everything, you know, it's just a 2-3 year degree. And once you cover the basic modules, the basic courses, there's not a lot of time left to cover other topics. So I would definitely look at different universities. I'd look at the websites, I'd see what they offer. One of the things that we are very, very proud of, we have 100 faculty at the law school. That's a huge law school. And almost each and every one of us has a particular topic that we are passionate about, that we research, and that we teach. So most of our students get to choose from a huge array of different topics. I said earlier, I teach innovation law, I teach media law, and I teach intellectual property. I have colleagues teaching things like maritime law or shipment law, or things that you never even thought about, law of space. These types of topics, these types of fields that you might be interested in. So what we offer is we offer labor law, family law, international law, human rights law, intellectual property law, law and technology. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I would strongly encourage you, if there's something that you're interested in, or if there's something that you think you might be interested in, take a look at our website, get in touch with Emily. We'll provide you more information about it. And I can tell you, just maybe share kind of a personal experience from my own perspective. When I went into law school many years ago, I had no idea what I was passionate about. I knew law was interesting for me because the way law is made, the way it impacts society, the way it impacts our personal lives was fascinating to me. But I never knew that I would be really interested in particular areas of innovation law and creativity and intellectual property. I went into class and I was just inspired by one of my lecturers, and that kind of launched my career. So this is part of what we do. We allow you to taste and see and look and kind of get a huge experience of many different modules, and then pick the one that you're more interested in, and then pursue it as one of these elective courses that we mentioned earlier.
Wonderful, thank you. And just a question about, I know that lots of universities have different opportunities regarding like client interviewing and mooting and things that get students ready for the kind of nuts and bolts of actually being a lawyer. If you could just talk a bit more about those opportunities that are available to students, that would be great.
Absolutely. So there are many different ones. I'll probably focus on 2 or 3 because you know, one of the first things is mooting. I know students love this. In the UK, there are a lot of different moot competitions. There's one in intellectual property. There's one in LGBTQ legal issues. There are international law. There are many different moot competitions. Our students tend to do really well in those competitions. We just had a student who won first place in best oralist in one of these competitions. If you want to do one of these moots, you just ask your personal mentor, which we mentioned earlier. They will let you know who to talk to. Not every moot we participate in, but if you're passionate about it, we will find you someone to advise you, to walk you through this, to participate in this. As I mentioned earlier, we tend to do really well in moot court, especially in international law and human rights law. That's one thing that we have kind of like hands-on practical experience. The second thing that I mentioned is the clinics. We have one of the biggest clinic programs in the UK. Many different clinics, like I mentioned, from the death penalty to innovation law and everything in between. It allows you to engage with real life lawyering as you are in law school. Work sometimes with practicing lawyers, sometimes with academics, sometimes with startup companies. It's very diverse. So there's a lot of that as well. And the third thing, and that's something that Emily mentioned, is we are focused on your career and we care about your career. And we understand that career is not just the law and books, but it's also practical practical knowledge and practical experience. So we do have particular workshops for interviewing, how to prepare yourself, how to prepare your CV. I mean, one of the things that we really care about is giving you life skills to become a good lawyer and find your place when you graduate from our law school. So it's not just about, say, for example, understanding how land law works, but it's also understanding how you interview, how you write your CV, how you engage with clients, and we have workshops for that. We have a fantastic, I was going to say one of the best, but I don't know. We definitely have a fantastic career services. They do wonders. And like Emily mentioned, there's a reason why 91% of our graduates are then employed in fantastic jobs.
Wonderful, thank you. And a question for you, Emily. So students on the graduate entry law program will often be students who are kind of obviously 22 and above, who may not want to be in accommodation with first year students. So those who are 18 and at university for the first time, are they able to enter postgraduate accommodation in that instance, or would they need to be with first year students, so those 18-year-olds?
Yeah, so we have one accommodation set up called the Keys, which is the only accommodation for sort of postgraduate students that we offer. And I would say those on the senior status, as you mentioned, because they're technically classed as undergraduates, my advice would be to pick that accommodation because it would be predominantly postgrad. So it's called the Keys, and that's something that, if there are any students here that are looking to apply and they want to find that accommodation, that's going to be more students with a similar mindset as them, on 18, as you say, then it would be the Keys. And I can always send you a bit more information on that. But the other option is we do have SU homes, which is and on-campus, kind of like a lettings agency, which have all the accommodation options that we have in Colchester rather than on-campus if they're interested in that. So yeah, there are certain accommodations that I would say are definitely more for the undergraduates straight out of high school, that, you know, they want that big social side, but the Keys would be the one that I would suggest mostly for students going into senior status or postgraduate.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. So we don't have any other questions, but just to let students know that we will be circulating the presentation afterwards to anyone who would like it, just to kind of recap all of the information that we've gone over. So just as a final, just a final few slides, I'll make myself the presenter, just to let students know kind of what to do if they are looking to apply to Essex. So the University of Essex is still accepting applications, so you are able to apply through UCAS, which is the online portal that students apply for UK universities through. You can apply to a maximum of 5 institutions. The universities will be looking for a strong personal statement as well as an academic reference letter. If you have been out of education for some time, you can often use a professional reference letter. Just get in contact with your consultant if you have any questions about that. In addition, applications for September 2024 entry opened up on, I believe, the 16th of May, and the earliest submission date for that entry point is the 5th of September. So if you are looking for September 2024 entry, you can work on your application throughout the summer and then get that submitted nice and early in the application cycle in the fall. As mentioned before, if you do have any questions about any of this, do feel free to get in touch with your consultant. We'll be able to provide more information on next steps. Just a reminder that we have webinars like this every Thursday, so do feel free to join us. We'll be showcasing lots of different universities, some great ones like the University of Essex. So yeah, that's everything from me, and just one last thank you to both of you for joining us today. It's really helpful and great to hear from different institutions. It was great to hear about the program offerings that the University of Essex have. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you students as well for joining us this Thursday afternoon/evening, depending on where you are.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye now.